Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining us for the SASBOSS 2.0 updates webinar. This is our second one, our second release of SASBOSS 2.0 as we roll it out across SASBOSS. Joining me, I have Mitch, which you'll note is not Matt. Matt's being called away at the moment, but we have the wonderful Mitch here to help from a sales and technical perspective as well. So any questions on that, you can send to Mitch through the call. And so what we're going to do today is go through the changes. So this second rollout, we're going to have a demo and walk us through it. And we're just going to talk a bit around the improvements and the value of this is to you and how this will roll out across SASBOSS. So what are we changing? This is, as I said, the second one. So the first rollout we did was the main page. So the navigation on the main page and then the customer area and customer listing page. So if you go into SASBOSS, let's bring it up. There we go. All right, so this is main landing page. And what we have here is the changes were on this menu. So SASBOSS 2.0 is all about productivity and making your life easier. So when you're doing your day-to-day in SASBOSS, it's making that better. So that's around navigation. It's around usability and readability of information, being able to interact with things easier and find what you're trying to do and do it as easy and streamlined as possible. So when we talk about, again, productivity, being able to find where you want to travel to is really important, which is why we focused on navigation bars and menus, but also the customer area. It is the top used area in SASBOSS. So our rollouts are really based on usage. So you get the impact in the areas that you use the most first. So main page, everyone lands here, and the customer area is second. So you use SASBOSS all the time. Is that the areas that you find the most value?
Definitely. I'm scrolling to the customer area using the search functionality in there almost daily within our system. So definitely it's one of the more used areas of SASBOSS, especially for me and my team, but probably our sales team and our partners as well.
And that was the feedback we got from partners. So when we're doing our 2.0 updates, we're doing co-design with partners along with feedback internally of what are partners saying through the sales teams, through the technical teams, through the support teams, and these were the things that they wanted us to focus on. So we had some things from the navigation. One of the things from the ideas portal, which we review every week, was something simple. Just can you pin the menu bars to the left? So we actioned that, and you get a bit more navigation space across the top. Everything's been streamlined. It's a bit easier to interact with. So you have everything there. And then the next thing we did was these quick links. So before on the main page, you just had the search bar and you can type in anything you want to work on, and it will then navigate you to the right place. But what we found was most helpful was I also want a quick link to the customers page or to my services or to the support page, the pages that I use the most. And so we implemented that. I've heard really good feedback that much people now log in and just go straight to customers rather than having to go to the menu.
It's definitely what I do when I first log into SASBOSS. Rather than going down to the left-hand menu when you first log in, clicking the customers on that in the middle of the page there, much easier.
And we're not trying to change how you use SASBOSS. We want everyone to have the flexibility of using it the way they used to use it, but we wanted to make it intuitive for someone who's new to SASBOSS too. And so we're finding a lot of the behavior now is changing from always going to the menu on the left or through the search bar, but also to using these quick links. So we're really happy that that's being used and that's making people's lives easier. So that's the homepage. Again, we're not changing heaps of things. We don't want people to need to relearn SASBOSS or retrain your teams. We're not making big changes like that. It's just small, the 1% that make your life that bit easier to use SASBOSS. So the other part from the first change was the customs area. So if we go to all customers, so before this was a table, so it's still a table, all the same information is there, but we've just made it easier to read. So our UX team spends a lot of time looking for best practice for UI and for design and to make things really easy from a readable perspective, but also the navigation. So we changed the table to being in this sort of band format to make it easier at a glance to see all your different customers, but also the information in each cell of the table is set to be easy to read, but also easier to navigate. So we changed a few fonts to make things easy to read, but we've also put links in key locations so that you can navigate around your customers easier. The other things we did was these groups and services. So these ones at the top here from test data don't have a lot in them. So if I was to go something with a few more groups, you can get the drop down and you can see all the groups and you can quickly navigate to them from this page. Same with the services, and the services will be in their type. So you can go, if I was to click here, it would take me to the services page for this customer with all the endpoints pre-filtered for me. So it's about making it easier to find the information you're after. The other key thing of difference, apart from, everything has now got nice blue buttons as opposed to the red buttons we had, which was a very common feedback. We'd like, red buttons look like I'm deleting something. Can you change it up? So made those blue. The other thing to note is we took from a large actions drop-down field here to a 3-dot ellipses, which one gives us a bit more space, but just makes it a bit easier to use in a table. So what did you find using the customer listing page, or feedback you've had from partners?
I love just the services drop down on the right there. Being able to click on that, go straight to the list of IVRs or the groups or call centers within it is much easier than having to go for the full services page and then apply the filter afterwards. So it's definitely easier from that perspective. I'm also a big fan of having the type of enterprise on the left-hand side there as well. So seeing if it has Teams enabled, if it's on UC Express, if it's on our BroadSoft platform, seeing that at a quick glance is much easier as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point to make, that you can see those customers there, what sort of products that they have, and if you want to, you can sort and filter by those. If I want to see all my UC Express customers, I can, and they have the UC Express logo. Actually, that's another point that I know you are very excited about.
Definitely.
We have introduced a new feature, a small feature here, that shows which of your customers are in Sandbox or in POC. So how is that helpful to a reseller?
Being able to see that information is greatly helpful. The amount of just small issues that we get coming through to myself and our team from a solutions perspective, the sales team, being able to quickly have that glance, as well as into our tech and support teams as well, of this customer, I can't do something's going on, they can't make calls, and it's just because they're in that sandbox stage, or I'm being charged for calls because they're in that proof of concept. So making it easier to see that data and seeing exactly when it expires is a lot easier from this perspective as well now. The other nice thing is the notes field that comes up there as well. The customers that we have here don't have any notes in there, but if you are putting that information against the customer on the customer management page, it coming across, making it easier to see what's going on with that customer, if they could be behind on bill payment, something like that, so everyone in the organization can see that. There you go.
And click it expands.
You can have a lot of information in there. It's a lot of data in that one right there.
Yeah.
But making that easy to see from this for the full listing page is a lot easier as well.
And that's exactly what this page is all about. So again, with the productivity and streamlining, that information is all around being able to see things at a glance. And the most important information to you that you need to make a decision on which customer do I need to go into at a glance, that's what this is about. So why we've included some of those fields, we've concatenated a couple of fields to make that bit more space. And again, as we mentioned, adding the POC sandbox tag, adding the which products that customer has, adding the easier navigation links for groups and services. That's what that's all about.
It's a lot more data and a lot easier way of being able to read. And no, as Anne mentioned as well, no big red scary buttons anymore either. Getting rid of those, making things a lot easier to look at and a lot less scary to navigate around as well.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, that's that page. So if you have any questions from the first launch of this, so the main navigation or the customers listing page, please put those questions through. They are being monitored. We will answer those questions at the end. So moving forward, again, just recapping the last launch, the other thing we made was the customer area. So this is what we call the customer listing page. When you click on the customer, you go to the customer area. So I'll click on Bags Corp. Bags is one of our product owners, and he's one of our main test customers. So he's got a lot of services going on in here. So this was the main change we did here was when you would click a customer, you would go to the manage customer page and you would see all of this information. And it was in 1.0 format. So you didn't have the blue buttons, you had the red buttons and a slightly different format. But that's all you got. And that's fine. You still have the exact same information here. It's just laid out slightly differently. So I will talk about some of the changes we're making to this page with the second launch, because this isn't how it currently looks in SASBOSS.
Yep.
We've made a few changes in the second phase of 2.0 to improve that further from feedback. But what we're pointing out here is that you had the managed customer page. What we gave you to add on to that is we gave you these tabs across the top. So you could also then go and see all of the groups for that customer, all the services for that customer, the DIDs, so the current porting orders in progress, which this one has a lot of porting orders in progress. And then down the bottom, you also had your current inventory of DIDs. The same thing you got for devices. So you have your current orders up the top and your inventory, if you have any, down the bottom. And this is, again, navigation productivity. So before you went to the customer, if you want to go to the groups, you had to go back out to the groups section, or if you want to go to service, the service section and navigate back in, and then filter to that service or group. Now you can say within the same customer information space is what we call it. So where all the same customer information is, and navigate through. So you don't have to muck around with any sort of filtering or search. But you can still do it that way if you go to the groups listing page and you know exactly what service you're going for, so you can type that in and find it. But this just makes it a lot easier from when you're trying to learn SASBOSS or you're just trying to look through the customer. You can see all that information really easily.
Jumping between those tabs along the top is a lot faster than it used to be in the old platform. Not having to jump back through that breadcrumb trail at the top there. It's a lot easier now as well.
That's right. I mean, we still have the breadcrumbs. So again, we're not trying to take away how you used to or are used to using it. If you're quite comfortable and really comfortable navigating around SASBOSS, all that stuff is still there. We're just making some other flexibility options to move around, but making it faster is something that we did do. So Stan, Saj, all the technical teams have spent a lot of time making SASBOSS a lot quicker. So you would have noticed probably we started around 6 months ago making some major changes, but so we have access to text on the road and the rotos on at the moment, and we're getting lots of feedback. So we've done Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane, and Sydney, Melbourne, and Auckland still to go. And I've had no one raise to me that SASBOSS, is slow or lagging. I've had a lot of great feedback that it's a lot faster, and so that's really great to see. And we're experiencing it at Access for headquarters here, because we're again using it every day, just like you are, testing things out and understanding how things are being used, and we've noticed a great improvement. And you can see that when you travel between the groups and services pages, that it's really quick to load. So we're really proud of improving those and making that a lot easier to use. Again, we're actioning, our roadmap is based on your feedback and what you need and what you're telling us. And you raised that performance was an issue in SASBOSS, and we're doing what we can to address that and make that a better experience for you. So that brings us basically to what was in the last launch of SASBOSS 2.0. We've done a lot since then. So
there has been a lot of change.
There's been a lot of change since then. So now I'm going to go through what's in this next release. So this is being released on the 27th of March, which is next week. And there are a number of changes. So what we're focusing in this release is the next area of SASBOSS the next most used area of SASBOSS, which are the groups and services areas. So once you've got into the customer and you're into the right space, then you start working in groups, because you're generally in here to troubleshoot something or to create and provision something, and you do that from the groups and services pages. So I'll take you through that. So if I go back out to my menu and I go to the groups listing page, you'll see here, and this is my privileged lab test environment view. So this is not live in SASBOSS. This is what it looks like. So again, same treatment as what's happened to the customer listing page. The table has been upgraded to the 2.0 table design, but there are some nice pieces coming through here. So on this page, all your groups are still listed. And you have nice links here to get across back to the group itself, or I can go directly to the customer. I can go straight to email myself if I wanted to. I can do that quickly. I also have the services here, so that's not a good example of one because there's no services in it. If I go into an express test one, I can see all the different services really quickly and again, navigate. So at the customer level, you have groups and services. At the groups level, you have the services. So we're trying to make that same experience for navigation and information presentation to you. So that's really easy. The other thing of note is that the groups are shown by default only the active ones. If you do want to see inactive groups, you can just remove that and it will then show you everything. And you can sort across all of these tables. The search allows you to search all those tables. That will search on the group name and group service reference ID. So that's this line and this one. We have had feedback of, can I search on the contact name? Because there are some difficulties with that on the previous SASBOSS version. We have added the contact name here so that you can search by the name there. The reason we haven't put it in the overall search table is we're getting a lot of trouble when you were searching for something. If you had the express maybe in the name, that it was, that's not a great example, but you might have David as a contact name, but you must have David across a few other things. It was showing up a lot more than you were generally expecting to do that. So if you have a specific use case where you're searching, specific case where you know exactly the name, just go straight here. It'll be much quicker. It'll streamline the results a lot easier for you. So we've designed it that way, but we are open to any feedback. If you find that you would like to be able to search specifically on other column headers more, or is something different, you don't any of that sort of feedback, we're very happy to take on, and we're constantly improving these areas. So as we launch into these new ones, we're not just leaving them behind and working on the next part of SASBOSS, we're going to continuously improve them. So please give us your feedback. We really appreciate it. These, as we said, we're rolling out to the most used areas of SASBOSS to give you the best impact. So any impact, feedback we can to improve that experience is exactly what we want to target.
Definitely. I also like how the customer type there is being filtered upon as well. So you can search for your Express customers by that as well and look at only Express groups.
Exactly.
You see Express groups, or same with residential and businesses in there as well. So being able to filter upon those makes things a lot easier. See how many groups you have across all of you. You see Express customers, things like that. And can't see it on this slide here, on this page right now. However, the sandbox expiry, so if a group is in sandbox, it actually will show on this page as well. So once again, being able to pull that down onto the group level makes things a lot easier as well.
Yeah, it does. So I think it showed when we first loaded this page, some of them were in POC or sandbox, and it showed just above there. So that does show in the space. And you can do everything that you did from this. So you can go back to the customer if you like. So I can click on this one, it will take me to the customer, and I can then see all the groups for that customer within this space. This is about giving you the full view for your groups. But go back in. Yeah, here's the sandbox exactly. All right. So the next part from the groups space that we changed, updated, is the manage group page. So if I was to go into, maybe I'll get one that's actually got a bit more stuff in it to make it a bit more interesting. All right, so Express Test DW customer, I'm going to go into their main group. All right, so what it's done is taken me to the manage group page. So that wasn't modal before. We're now giving it a full page to have that space and easeability of use, but it's also taken me into the customer space. All right, so that means now I can, if I had a group, I know some services from that group, I could then move into the services area for that. So it's about navigation easier, but I can always go back to that group section, and I can go back up to the customer level with this one too. So again, similar to when we did the managed customer, we haven't changed the information you're putting in or using. It's just had a slight upgrade in the layout and how the information is put together. We've made some very small, I don't think on this group page we've moved anything, but on some of them, if there is information that just makes sense to be input at the same time or edited at the same time, we've moved them next to each other, again, just to make it a little bit easier. Again, the 1% to make life easier, not changing the whole thing. Notably, from the UI perspective, a change is that there's now the label above the input field. So if you have SASBOSS open at home and you're doing a bit of spot the difference, you'll notice that before name and then the input field was next to it. And sometimes there was quite a bit of space between some of the labels. And so to address that and just make it, again, easier to read information, the usability of inputting information, we've put that underneath there. So it's really clear which field is related to which, the label is related to which input field. And it's really clear just to use that information. So that's the manage group page. If you have any questions on it, please send them through. But all the same information is there. If I go to some of these drop downs, all the same information is in these. That's all there. Anything you want to comment on this one?
I did just want to point out, so under the admin there, you still do have your managed schedules and announcements for UC Express, it would only be schedules under there. So that's still under that group page. It hasn't moved at all. And then for the Broadworks customers or our UCAS customers, they would have the managed announcements in there as well. So that is still under those group pages, hasn't moved. We did have that come through as a question just before. So not under the customer page was it's always under the group page.
Yeah. All right. The other thing I might just call out so there's no confusion, you'll notice there is a call flows tab here. That's only there because that's currently in testing as well by the product and dev teams. That is not included in this launch. So apologies there, but that will be coming, just needs a bit more work. So that's the main thing from a group's management page. The next area we looked at is the services pages. So service listing page. Again, it's had the same treatment as the groups and customer listing pages. All the listing pages will have this treatment of the table. And that, again, it's about navigation. It's about ease of reading information. I'm quite zoomed in at the moment, so that's not how it would normally display there. But you can see all the same information is showing. Again, your actions are the 3-dot ellipses, but all of your actions are still there. All the relevant information you can go through. Again, same for search for the contact, same, look by customer, all of that is there.
And same advanced filters still at the top there as well. So all of that's still there. A little bit of an update around how it looks, but it's all the same functionality from a search and data perspective. It's still going to be available there.
Exactly. And again, it has the same default only showing active services, but you can remove that if you like. All right. So maybe we'll dive into one of them because the services have the same treatment. So maybe we'll go into an IVR. All right. So this is the managed service page for an IVR. That they all look a bit different depending on the type of service it is, but we'll do an IVR for an example. And this is for a UC Express customer. So it has the UC Express logo on the right. You'll notice it has now a tag to show what kind of services at the top. So we think that's a little improvement to quickly at a glance scan. If you have walked away from your computer and you come back and you've forgotten where you are, you can tell exactly what services and what you're working on. The information, again, is the similar treatment. It has all of the input, the fields that you can manage, the information is next to them, all of the menus across the top. They, again, have all the same information as before. Nothing's been changed, nothing has been removed, but the fields are just easier to see and read. Actually, that's probably new as well. So this customer is a Sandbox customer, UC Express, Sandbox customer. So going into this IVR, it just gives you a little reminder that this is Sandbox. So how is that useful for the reseller to know?
Going back to, as I mentioned earlier, the reports are coming into us around customers not being able to make calls out or just little things like that which weren't working correctly. Usually related back to customers still in Sandbox, they weren't live yet. So being able to just display that across the board, making it easier for everyone inside your organization to know what's going on, and being able to see where you can make that change. So it has managed customer to go live. You can click on that, takes you to the go live section. So you can see services will not have outbound calling. So if customer hadn't gone live yet, they're called into your support team. Your support team knows why they won't be able to make outbound calling. So making that visible, the reasons why, much easier from that side of things. And being able to link back to where they can change that as well. So not just say customers in Sandbox, that's the reason why it's not there. if they need to make that change, here's where you can go to make that change as well.
That's it. So we're doing a lot of work to try and make it easier for your call to action. So, you know, following sort of the ball of it, it's SASBOSS shows you where you need to go as opposed to having to work it out. Again, really useful if you're trying to learn SASBOSS for the first time. If you've been with SASBOSS for a long time, you know how to do these things. We're not trying to put any blockers for you. It's just a bit easier to navigate there. So that's another reason why, yeah, we're bringing those in.
And just most things are laid out the exact same way, but having that slight color change, that font change, as we mentioned, it just makes things a little bit easier to read. It almost seems brighter on the page, and much better laid out almost, even though it is very similar to how it was. So small changes like that makes things a lot easier as well. Yeah,
that's it. That's it. All right. So again, any questions, please send them through. What we'll go through next is probably the final area that we're adjusting, which is the resellers listing page. So again, listing pages. So for most, you'll only have one row here, which is your reseller. But if you do have sub resellers or agencies, they will show up in this section too, so you can choose between them. But this gives you a quick view. Again, it's the same information. It's got the 2.0 treatment. So again, we'll continue to roll it out to more parts of SASBOSS. One of the next launches will have the SASBOSS management page. So for example, if I was to the resale management page. So this has still got the original UI look. In our next one for next quarter, this will be updated as well. So we're doing the groundwork by getting the listing page done because it was a smaller one, so we could fit it into that quarter as prep work for when we actually do that modal.
Definitely.
All right. So again, you know, quick links. You can jump straight to the customers listing page for this one, to your service listing page. All the same information is still there. And again, your actions are in the three dots.
A few questions for you, Anne, just while we go. Is there any plans to make groups within SASBOSS be mapped to ConnectWise? Maybe something may have to take back offline. But...
Groups to ConnectWise. Yeah. So the mapping of a group.
Yeah.
Yes. So when you create a group, you can do that. But there is work. So we are doing, so we on the 8th of April, we are launching our Autotask integration. And with our integration to Autotask, we did do a few improvements to ConnectWise while we were there, because it's a very similar integration there. For an example, the cost of goods is something that we are improving and having it come through both Autotask and ConnectWise. So as we get more feedback on how you like to use these integrations, that's how we'll build it into SASBOSS. So if that's a great one to show. We'll probably have a conversation about exactly how you'd like to use that and make sure we're fully understanding the use case. But that's a really good one. Yeah.
Awesome. Another one we had come through was user IDs at the moment inside UC Express. Currently, they're not editable. They are, once you create them, they are stuck in place. Is there any plans to make them editable afterwards? So if there was a spelling mistake or something like that, rather than terminating, recreating, making it just easier from that side of things.
Yes, it is on the roadmap. It's not an immediate one. So what we're working on for UC Express is that bring out more features for that area. But we have had a lot of really good feedback over the road shows that if you're doing a migration or exactly if you've created a customer for UC Express, you can't go and edit some of those things. So that's been really good. That has been put on the roadmap. So the UC Express team, we've spun up a whole product team just for UC Express to be able to get through a lot of these features a lot faster and this feedback. So yes, that they're aware of that one. It's been really good feedback to get. And it is. I don't have a date for it right now, though.
That covers off everything I've had come through. We have had someone else monitoring the chat as well. So as questions have come through, we've just been responding to those as they've come through as well. So if there is any other questions, feel free to throw them in the chat now, and we can get to them now.
Or just give it a minute just in case there are any questions.
Definitely.
Then we can close off.
Covered off a few of my favorite changes to SASBOSS phase 2 or 2.0 phase 2. What's some of the slight changes that you're most excited about from it?
For me, it's always the navigation. Like some of the biggest feedback I get with new partners, especially, is just trying to find what you're looking for in SASBOSS. And so addressing that solves a lot of the feedback that I get. But when I use SASBOSS, which is every day, navigation makes it a lot easier for me. I really love the new customer area to be able to move through the tabs. I find that's just so much easier for what I'm doing. And that's the feedback we've been getting from other partners too. So let us know if that's you know, you're appreciating it, or if that's actually getting in the way for you. So we'd love to hear that as well. But that's a really important one for me. But for me, it's a lot of the stuff that's coming out. So the roadmap, and I can talk about roadmap for SASBOSS forever, but we do have a lot of navigation improvements coming out and consolidations of functionality, because you know, if you're doing a service, there are a lot of menus, and there are a lot of different modals that can pop up, that you have to pop up and navigate through to make all these changes. We'll spend a lot of time with the UX team to look at what can we do to make that easier and more approachable, and so less sort of everything in different boxes and pockets that you have to open and change. So that's what I'm looking for, because sometimes, even if you are using SASBOSS regularly, it's that one setting that you haven't changed for a long time that you have to try and find, and that can be hard. And then you have to go to PRC, or you have to ask your SC for that help. We want to empower you to be able to navigate and manage all your things through SASBOSS totally on your own, so that you can have fast response times, give great customer service. That's what we're focusing on. So a lot of those things is what I'm looking forward to, because even for me, sometimes I find something in SASBOSS that I haven't looked at in a few months, and I'm like, oh, that's there.
It's also going back to the older versions of SASBOSS, even though it was only 3 months ago that we updated to 2.0, some of the older layouts and how it used to work, it's just the amount of change since then. It's just mind-blowing to me, and how much faster things are now.
Yeah, that's right.
One question we just had to come through, navigational changes are great. Any major functional changes coming in the new releases?
Functional changes. So I tend to separate out functional improvements from the 2.0 changes, because as I said before, 2.0 is really about streamlining the productivity navigation. So we're not trying to make big changes that require any sort of relearning or redoing of SASBOSS. So we keep them in a separate pipeline for SASBOSS improvements. So the big ones that I have that are coming out soon are the customer history log. So if I go back into SASBOSS and I go to the customers area, and I go to a customer, let's say the one I created the other day. So in here, there'll be another tab, which is called, name's a bit in the air at the moment, but customer history. It's very similar to any sort of audit logs that you've used before in other SaaS systems. So it shows all the different changes that are made to the customer, whether that's adding a new group, or adding a new service, or terminating a service, endpoint, name change, any of that sort of stuff. It'll show it in this log, and it will keep a 60 days log available to you within SASBOSS, and you can see the what, who did it, and when it was done. So it's a troubleshooting tool to make it easier, so you don't have to call our tax system or our SCs to help unweed what's happened. And the use case predominantly for that is that a customer would call you up and say, I'm not getting the calls, or it's not working the right way. And you can say, oh, okay, when did this start happening? Oh, I missed my call at 11 a.m. yesterday, or whatever it is. You can go straight into the customer history log, and it will have all the fields. So you can put date and time. You can put a time offset as well. So if you have a customer that's in Perth and you're in Melbourne, and you don't want to do the math really quickly while they're on the phone, put all that in, and it will show you all the changes that were made around that time. So if the changes are made either by yourself or by the customer or someone on the SASBOSS side, then you can see if that has triggered and made that change, and that it makes it a lot easier to pinpoint what affected or triggered that change, and all the links are there to go straight to that service or that customer or that group to either change it back or make the right change for it to work correctly again. So that's one of the things that I'm very excited about. I'm showing all the access the techs on the road. We're getting really great feedback. That it's a troubleshooting tool, make it much quicker, and you can solve the problem for the customer on the phone. So they tell you what's happened. The information is laid out for you to input it as they're telling you. It'll give you the changes immediately, and then you can go, oh, I see, yep, your call queue, the setting, that treatment's changed. You can go straight into the call queue and make the change. So that's one of the things that I'm really excited about. There are a number of things on the 2.0 launch roadmap. So after the groups and services done, we will be moving on to the reseller management page, as I mentioned. So managing yourself and your settings, and that will get a similar customer area treatment where you'll have more tabs. So a lot of the things that the most used actions from the reseller management page will get brought down into tabs. So you'll be able to manage your logins and things a lot quicker and easier. So again, less clicks to get and navigate what you're looking for. So that's one of the ones. The products area is also getting a refresh and some new functionality. So that probably would be a 2.0 one that has the most functionality changes. We're bringing the PRC products management space into the SASBOSS one. So when you think about what PRC and SASBOSS is for, so SASBOSS is about productizing. So you have the parent product that we have created, and you create your product on top of that. Then and so there's two layers, so parent level, and then the products that you've made level, and you have to go back and forth, and it's kind of hard to see what you've actually set as all that pricing until you go into each one. The PRC is currently solving that problem. It's more of that price book, and that's what it's designed to do. But it means you go to two different places. So you're editing, actioning space, and then your read space. We want to bring them together. So we want to make it really easy to productize, but also view your price book in one spot to improve that, and also we're working on improving the PRC at the same time. So that's another one.
Yeah, so there's definitely functional changes coming out as well, but phase 2.0 phase 2 is a lot of just UI changes, making things simpler to use, removing some red buttons to change a font, things like that. So that's mostly what this update today is going to be about.
Yeah, making all the red buttons blue.
Yeah.
That's it. And what are you most looking forward to in SASBOSS 2.0 in the future?
That call flow design tool that's being worked on, being able to see live what's it looks like for your customer when someone calls into the business, what the IVR options are, things like that. Today, it's a lot of manually mapping that out, being able to quickly see that populate, click on it, live update, make some changes, and live updates again. That I'm very excited for. It's going to make a lot of what I do a lot easier, especially when it comes to customers come on board, they've been deployed, making sure it looks like what was sold, and then 18 months, 2 years down the line, they're up for contract renewal. Let's see what we can do to make things easier for them then as well. So I'm very excited for that tool when it comes out.
Yeah, there's lots of applications for that tool. Talking through with partners, again, we're doing a lot of co-design with partners, especially on a tool like that, because it's so complex that it needs to be exactly how that user needs it to be able to edit any of those, adding any sort of services and adding to the call flow, but also editing the settings in that call flow. So it's taking, we want to get it right. We want to make sure it works the way that you need it to work. So we're making sure we take our time to get this one out. But there's so many different use cases, from the one you were talking about to just be able to learn how to create call flows. If you're an MSP that's new to voice, which is a number of MSPs that we have on, there's a huge amount of training, and just be able to see the call flow at a glance, making it much quicker and easier to read the call flow, and having that in the customer. So you show the customer the call flow, and they understand what they're getting a lot better. So that's what we're focusing on.
Definitely.
Yeah. Are there any other questions?
I think that covers up all the questions we've had come through. I had a lot, and really do appreciate everyone sending them across.
Yeah, again, please, if you have any questions or something comes to you in half an hour that you're like, oh, I wish I'd asked it in the webinar, please send it through either to your PGM or through the ideas portal, or just email me. Very happy to receive it. Well, I think we can close off then.
Yep. Thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you very much for joining us. We will be doing webinars for all our 2.0 updates, so please log in again next time.